I think the number one thing from a leadership standpoint that factors that go into the success for of a business, but from a leadership perspective, it's really identifying individuals who have strong leadership characteristics and then getting out of their way. So not trying to force a particular leadership style or a certain level of productivity down people's throats, but finding the people who've got the right leadership characteristics and letting them flex their leadership capabilities by performing at a very high level rather than micromanaging them or trying to dictate what is the best way for them to be successful.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we're going to talk about disciplined leadership. It might be a new term for you, and it was actually a new term for me, but our guest today goes into disciplined leadership is the reason why his company's grown, and it means no micromanagement. Our guest today is the founder, CEO of Sanguine Strategic Advisors. His name is Kevin Chern. And Kevin and I had a great conversation about this disciplined leadership and really why it is so successful. What you're going to find inside this episode is the characteristics he sees which makes great leaders and kind of leaders that you can put in position, let them take ownership, and then step out of the way, and you don't have to micromanage them. And in fact, if you do, you're probably messing up the system. And so we go through that today, talking about disciplined leadership. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm an executive coach for more than 12 years. I have helped companies grow from 4 million through 20 million. I've had some companies go from 20 million to 100 million, and I've had some companies grow beyond 100 million. I share that with you because I really work with fast growth companies. As they go through different stages, they start to feel certain pains, and they come to me to help them through that. We do this with total coaching at the CEO level, coaching at the C-suite level, those executive leaders, to make sure there's real alignment. And we also help managers become true leaders with our coaching program and training programs. So if any of that is interesting to you, or maybe you're just kind of want to understand some of the challenges that you're about to face as you continue to grow, send me an email, gene@genehammett.com. If you want to dip your toe in, then all you have to do is go over to coreelevation.com, which is the legal name of our company, and you can find executive virtual conversations. Every month we do a new one. It's not a webinar. It's not a sales pitch. It actually is a unique conversation with other founders and alumni that have been on the show before, like today's guest, Kevin. Can't guarantee any one specific person is going to be there other than me, but I really want to really provide a world-class conversation around a new topic every month. So if that's resonating with you, just go to coreelevation.com and you can sign up now for the executive virtual conversations. When you think of leadership and you think of Growth Think Tank. Now here's our guest, Kevin Chern. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you? How about you?
I'm fantastic, excited for this interview. And I've already told our audience a little bit about you and about our topic today, but I'd love for you to tell us about your company, Sanguine Strategic Advisors.
Yeah. So it was kind of the brainchild of 25 years in operating businesses. And I was had a little bit of time to be very purposeful in what I wanted my next adventure to be, spending a lot of time talking to small business owners, mentoring them, helping them to solve their most pressing challenges, and just realized that what I was doing is making a lot of introductions to solutions providers, vendors that I had identified in my network that I had found were really good at what they did in solving problems. And that was kind of the genesis of the whole Sanguine Strategic Advisors model back in 2019.
And I'm curious about, what's next for your business. Is there an angle of the business that you're looking to capture? Is it AI, or is this, what is the next thing that you're really focused on?
Well, we are positioned as an advisory business, but really what we are, in a sense, is a marketplace. We are the marketplace owner, Sanguine. Who's in the marketplace? Solutions providers, businesses that offer services that we've identified as being best in market and what they do to help support small business owners as they grow. And who comes to our marketplace? What we call seekers, right? Business owners. As running businesses, we all have challenges we're trying to solve for. And what we're doing is we're introducing in our marketplace the seekers and the solutions providers. And then finally, we have connectors, people with audiences of business owners that escort those seekers to our business. So the goal is really to create more scalable ways to bring seekers of solutions together with those solutions providers.
Great. There's not a lot of businesses out there in this category, and I just want to ask one follow-up question with this. Why did you go after this marketplace as a category versus like just becoming a provider yourself?
Well, I've been in prior businesses. I'm an attorney by education, built a number of businesses which were B2C, high volume, operationally complex, highly regulated, and they're very, very very, very challenging businesses to operate. And this time around, I decided that I didn't want to be the end solutions provider where someone was coming to me every single day saying, how come you didn't deliver X? Or this price was too expensive, or having to reprove the value of my offering every single month. So, I was really spending a lot of time with business owners. And I found that the number one challenge that business owners face every single day is finding the right vendor. It's vendor selection. We receive a lot of formal training on how to drill teeth if we're a dentist or how to draft a will if we're a lawyer. But as business owners, we receive very little training on how to properly go through the process of diligencing the right solutions providers to support the wellness and growth of our business.
Well, you had some tremendous success over the last few years, and you were 94 on the Inc. 5000 list, which for all of those that don't know, that's so competitive to get to that high in the top 100. You grew at 3,491% over the last 3 years in revenue. Is that sound accurate?
That is correct. Yeah.
I did my homework, Kevin. When you look at that level of fast growth, what would you say is your leadership approach that has made that possible?
I think the number one thing from a leadership standpoint that factors that go into the success for a business, but from a leadership perspective, it's really identifying individuals who have strong leadership characteristics and then getting out of their way. So not trying to force a particular leadership style or a certain level of productivity down people's throats, but finding the people who've got the right leadership characteristics and letting them flex their leadership capabilities by performing at a very high level rather than, micromanaging them or trying to dictate what is the best way for them to be successful.
Now my curiosity's got to ask you, what are the characteristics that stand out the most for your leaders?
I think a high level of autonomy. People are capable of setting their own schedule, driving themselves. In other words, they're internally motivated individuals. It's the person who will be up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning working just because they're a highly motivated individual, not because you say you have to be at your computer a particular time of the day. I would say people who've got very strong perseverance characteristics, just the won't give up type of attitude, individuals who have a high appreciation for collaboration and teamwork, individuals with very strong, what we'd call EQ skills, emotional quotient, interact very well with others. They play nice in the sandbox.
That's a pretty good person if you can find someone that has all four. Do you find all four are common with your best leaders, or do they have 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4?
Yeah, I think the different characteristics appear at different levels. Not, everything is on a spectrum. Most things in life are on a spectrum, right? It's neither black nor white. But the best thing you can do as a leader is where people excel, get out of their way, and where they've got some challenges, try and nurture them and be positive. And it's also getting a perspective on accepting people for the strengths that they have and trying to encourage them in those areas, and then trying to diminish the impact of maybe in the areas where they're in the 70th percentile instead of the 95th percentile.
Kevin, I'm not sure if it's the engineer in me. Maybe it's just been years of doing this, but I'm always looking for patterns. You mentioned autonomy, perseverance, collaboration, and high IQ, or no, high EQ. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm picking up from this, these are what we would call not things that are really taught. They're typically ingrained. They're part of our values and part of that characteristic of their character. Things that are taught are like, being a lawyer, maybe being a coach even sometimes. Have you thought about that? These are the personal characteristics that you might be hiring for, and then they become leaders.
It's interesting. The way that I built the business has been more organic, and I've learned from running large organizations with hundreds of employees all the way down to smaller organizations. I would say that the best place to find those individuals is through your own best employees. In other words, when you identify good employees or good leaders within your company, the best place to find more good leaders and people is through them. People tend to very often hang out with other individuals that share the same values, the same work ethic, the same characteristics. Some of the most successful recruitment programs I've ever run is literally recruiting internally through your workforce, giving them incentives to go out into their network and find people who are similar to them, who've got the same types of characteristics. In other words, going to people who are already familiar with your culture, your leadership style, who's going to be successful within the organization, who makes a good leader, and say, I'll give you an incentive to find more people like this, right?
Now, Kevin just mentioned something about finding more good employees. And a lot of companies are in growth mode, are looking to attract the right talent. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but your very best solution or strategy for this is exactly what Kevin said. And I'm just piling on here is your internal team. They are people that want to protect the culture, and they will not let in the assholes, the toxic workers, the people that aren't, that are going to be lazy. If their friends are like that, they don't invite them to come along. So they've got a validation. Now, yes, you can reward them with, $200, $500, $1,000, or even more, but they will protect the culture for you. That's one of the biggest benefits. So if you aren't already having a strategy where you're asking people to look for quality people in certain areas, or maybe just quality people that fit with your culture, then that's an opportunity for you to attract the right talent to you. Now back to Kevin. Kevin, when we were doing research to whether we allow you to come on the show, and I say that with a smile because we do curate our guests, we get a lot of pitches, and most of the people say that they love the show. We know they never heard of it.
Right.
You probably never heard of us before we reached out to you because we do this research. But what we found was a phrase that I don't hear often. So I want you to explain it to us: discipline leadership. What does that mean to you?
In my mind, discipline leadership means, again, resisting your own innate temptation or desire to micromanage people and force everybody to do it your way, and letting them achieve success in their own individualized way. I think that's probably, not having a dictionary definition of that, that's the way that I would think about disciplined leadership, is encouraging the strengths and diminishing the impact of the weaknesses without forcing yourself or your style on other people.
I know everyone says that they don't like micromanaging and they don't do it. But what we find is no one self-assesses them. They're not aware enough to say they're a micromanager. Was there a time in your leadership career that maybe you were a micromanager that you decided to move away from this, or did you find a different journey?
No, I mean, I think if you speak with people who worked with me, they would definitely say I'm a type A, double A personality, like definitely getting in the weeds and trying to be involved in most projects. But, age, maturity have kind of a weird way of mellowing you out and changing your perspective a little bit. And if you look at the way that people like to be managed, you want to make them feel like they're the ones that are making the decisions. And that, it's figuring out how to give them a sense of ownership over projects, over successes, that they feel that they're doing it autonomously with a little bit of support from you, some guidance, right? Almost like the Socratic method. People would come to me and say, want to get very often affirmation, whether they're going in the right direction. And very often the best answer is, well, what do you think is the right direction? Rather than trying to impose your own will on them.
I love that question. I want to reflect on that. What do you think the right answer is? I know why I love the question. Why do you use that with your people?
Well, part of it, again, being disciplined leadership, the easy thing for me to do is just to tell them how to do it. But that's not going to encourage growth, right? That's just going to encourage them to keep coming back to me and asking me every single time how to get to the right solution. But by asking them, it's really, training on how to discernment skills and how to get to the right solution on your own rather than being hand fed everything every single time.
Now, Kevin just mentioned ownership. Now, what he doesn't know is I've done hundreds of episodes on this podcast, and I've done a lot of research around this, and I've been able to identify the patterns. One of the patterns is the CEOs of fast growth companies don't want people to take responsibility. They want them to take ownership for their work, a sense of pride. They work autonomously. They're able to overcome the challenges in front of them. Now, there's 6 aspects of that. I'm not going to go through them today. If you want them to, those 6 aspects, I'm happy to give you a video of a big speech I did or give you an article that I've written. You just have to email me, gene@genehammett.com, and I'll give you both of those things, the video and the article. But there are 6 specific elements that drive a feeling of ownership with your employees, and they're not financial. That being said, I'll give you my favorite question to see if someone is an owner. And it's a 2-part question. The first one is, tell me about a goal that you set for yourself that you didn't achieve, because you want to see how they think and what they're trying to go after. The key of this is the second question. Why didn't you obtain that goal? Or why didn't you get it? Why didn't you reach it? And what you're looking for is for them to take ownership and not blame someone else. Take their own listing of why they didn't do it. And if they blame others and the times get tough inside your business, they will start to blame others. And that just doesn't work for me. They become the victim, and that just doesn't work for me either. If you're expecting them to be a leader, we talked about that a little bit on this episode. So hopefully this helps you. You want people to feel like owners. And so I've done the work, I've done the research. If we can help you in any way, just send me that email, gene@genehammett.com. Now back to Kevin. Kevin, we've been talking about disciplined leadership. We're talking about your success with your company. What have we left out of this conversation that you'd like to bring to light?
Well, I do think, having a conversation about leadership also, I think a lot of it has to do with perseverance and showing people around you how you respond in the face of adversity and difficult circumstances. I think if there's any one characteristic that has helped me have a level of success, whatever that is, it's the never say die type of attitude, continue to move forward, not having time or patience to feel bad for myself when everything doesn't go the way that I wanted it to, but saying, the best way for me to feel better about this situation is to continue to move forward and work through it. And I think setting that example for other individuals within your organization, it will give them those perseverance skills as well. It'll strengthen them to work through difficult circumstances. I've had a couple of prior businesses that were on an incredible rapid scale, prior businesses on Inc. 500 ended up not having the type of exit that I wanted to. But instead of sitting there and feeling sorry for myself about the scenario, it was just my innate desire to, go on to the next. And it was almost like therapeutic or cathartic to me in not having achieved a certain level of success in the prior business, that the best way to address it is to go out and just create more successful scenarios for myself.
I know that I discussed with you my big failure in life, which was running a business into the ground, that I lost $3 million on with a failed contract. And perseverance was the only way I could have gotten back. And I've said this before, and I'll say it with you guys transparently. I was very shameful that it took me literally 6+ years to rebuild my life after losing it all. I mean, I lost the house, I lost my money, but I also lost my sense of confidence. And so I had to rebuild myself at the age of 39. I know you've talked about, Kevin, you've had some setbacks, and we don't need to air it out here, but you have rebuilt yourself in a similar fashion from some of these setbacks. And that's where your perseverance probably comes through strong. What would you add to that?
Yeah. I would just say, whenever you're faced with difficult circumstances, there's always the human tendency, human nature is to feel victimized or feel bad for yourself that you're facing these circumstances that maybe you didn't feel like you had a lot of control over it. But the best way to feel better about it is to take control over it. I know, my daughter says to me, not everybody can have the mindset that you have in order to overcome difficult circumstances, right? She's a Gen Zer, so that's the tendency. But my attitude is, if I don't like the circumstance that I'm in. If I don't like the fact that this business didn't end the right way or the way that I had dreamed or hoped it was, the best thing that I can do to address that is not to sit there and feel bad for myself, but to start making the next plan and work towards the next success and be singularly focused on achieving that rather than eating up emotional and physical energy on, reminiscing about things that I can't change, I don't have control over.
We're going to wrap up today's conversation, but I'm just going to point this out. I've never met a successful entrepreneur or a leader that spent most of their time feeling like a victim. They were willing to, maybe we go through these moments. I was there before. I've been there. I'll probably be there again, but I don't let it linger. I don't let it last, hopefully longer than a day. I'd like for it to be a lot less than that, but feeling like a victim doesn't give you the agency to take a step forward. And I think what you're describing, Kevin, is something that not only has helped your leaders excel at what they're doing, but also your own journey to your level of success. So thank you for sharing.
And I think that, for those of you who don't know, sanguine, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's optimistic. It's an optimistic personality. That's why the company's named what it is. It's not just a tool to overcome adversity. It's just an overall attitude that you move forward with. If you can move through life and business challenges through an optimistic lens, an optimistic attitude, a can-do attitude, I think it gives you a level of empowerment to achieve success that, all things being equal, would be more difficult to reach.
Well said, and a great way to end today's conversation. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Gene. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Wow, what a great conversation about disciplined leadership. Hopefully you took a lot of notes. Hopefully you look for some of the key things that he talked about, those characteristics, the ability for people to take ownership and for you to get out of their way, and all of the things wrapped around that to help you grow the kind of company that you love to work at, that you love to be a part of, that you love to really drive to that next level. Because if you're having to pull everyone, it probably is leading you to burnout. I've seen it. I felt it before, so I know what I'm talking about. If we do executive coaching, we do leadership development. If any of that is of interest to you, just send me an email, gene@genehammett.com. Happy to help you. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.